Hey guys, welcome to my video series where we learn how to EQ everything, and today on the menu, piano, which is one of my favorite instruments, so I'm very excited about this. Let's do it. Okay, so before we jump into Logic, of course, I have to make the usual disclaimer. Recording quality is paramount, and when it comes to piano, this is very, very much true as well. Piano, very difficult instrument to record. A large grand piano, huge instrument, of course. Where do you place the microphones? Inside, outside, on top, below, close to the hammers, far to the hammers. Very, very complicated. I have a piano recording here that I did with 4 different positions, 8 microphones in total on the piano. Actually, I think I had one below the piano as well. I'll show you that in detail later. And I have a couple of pianos that were either electronic or recorded, and we will have a look in how to treat them. So let's do number 1 here. Okay, very beautiful, very reverberant. Obviously this is a digital piano with some reverb on it, maybe even some pad-like effect that I can hear. No, it's just the reverb sustaining very, very long. There's a huge spectrum with pianos. Okay, we can have a rock song, like listen to some Aerosmith or Green Day or any kind of rock music where you have pianos, and basically what you hear is just the hammer, just really high transients hammering away. And many times these pianos are played in a narrow 1-2 octave range, so it is neatly tucked into the arrangement. And this is very important when you play piano. And my friend here, he plays the whole instrument all the way from the lowest to the highest note. And of course, it's very complicated to build an arrangement around that because we are covering so many frequency ranges and so many musical ranges as well. So if you play low piano notes, then, you know, try to mix in a bass guitar to that as well. And if you have high notes, then try to add your solo guitars, your trumpets and strings and all the other instruments. So there's a really wide range from a dull, warm, you know, cozy piano sound to kind of a really bright, hammery rock piano. And we have to decide very early on what we want to do, and of course adjust our recording technique and our sound choices accordingly, and even more importantly, the octave range where we play the piano in. Okay, so if it's meant to be a lead instrument, go a bit higher. If it's meant to just add a bit of rhythmic element, maybe go lower or in the middle, or whatever it is, make sure that it fits into your arrangement. With this piano, I hear that it's a bit on the nasal side. There's a resonance. There's a little bit of the low rumble here. And it's not really rumble actually. So this is what I would do to clean up this piano. So we removed the 2 ranges here that were bothering me. We had this resonance here, this almost whistle. So we take that out and the piano already opens up nicely. Now it might be the case actually that this whistle works well in the context of the production. It's not necessarily an unpleasant sound because it's not very harsh or piercing. But just to start with, I'm gonna remove it. Then I removed a little bit this lower mid-range. That was clouding up the sound a little bit. And now I could decide how much brightness I want. But based on how this piano is played and processed and probably even pre-EQ'd, it's probably meant to be like a warm, cushiony sound in the background and not necessarily a lead instrument. So I'm just going to leave it at this. We can have a listen quickly before and after. So it's a cleaner, nicer sound with less distractions, so to speak. Then we have piano. It says piano L, but I mixed the left and the right channels together here. Let's have a listen. Okay, this is a Korg electric piano, I know for a fact. It's actually sounding very, very good, really quite authentic tone, and I would even prefer this over a badly recorded real grand piano, which I'm going to show you next. So if you have no access to a real grand piano, again with the usual good room, good player, good microphones, good engineer, all of that stuff, then again it's better to have a really good either electric piano or have a good software instrument. There are some, I like Addictive Keys a lot, but I by no way encourage you to buy anything that I mention here in these videos. So I know that this is going into a pop ballad kind of song, and I know it's the lead instrument because Ostap is my friend. He's a piano player and he's known for his piano-driven music. So I know that this has to cut through. What I'm gonna do first is, even though I hear some mud in the lower mid-range here, I'm gonna set the treble first so I know that it cuts through in the production. Okay, so as you can see, I added a really extreme treble boost here on the top at 11K center frequency. I would usually use a different EQ for this, a Pultec style EQ set to 12K. Same kind of thing, it's a really wide bell, that's the whole point of it. And I can go extreme here. I know that in the context I have to go extreme. I need to have a lot of presence, I need every note to be heard. I know that I'm gonna be competing with a lot of instruments here. I'm just putting the limiter on so I don't clip the master bus while still having enough volume for YouTube. Simultaneously, I heard that even though I fixed the top, there was still this little woofy, muddy lower mid-range, so I nudged that out. And then I also heard that around 2K it's a bit too much. So it's a very present sound, and we don't want too much of this range because we also have, of course, the vocal, the main lead instrument in this arrangement. And vocals, especially his vocal, lives in this 2K range. I'm probably going to do a video about one of his mixes from top to bottom in the future as well. So you can hear how without these simple EQ moves, it sounds like the piano is very distant, it's not very present, it's almost like there's a blanket on the microphones or the speakers. And when I engage this EQ, it's like the lights go on and the piano just jumps in front and becomes just nicer. Let's have a look at the next one. So I'm gonna reorganize these a little bit. These are 4 sets of piano microphones. So we have the piano hammer, piano string, piano close, and piano far. The piano hammer was, I believe, an XY or ORTF small condenser microphone pair, if I remember correctly, at the pianos, quite literally. So if this is your piano, the microphones were just behind somewhere here, or like this, or like this. Let's have a listen. So really nice sound actually straight out of the box, very natural. We can hear a little bit of the pedal of the finger movement, which is okay. I'm gonna cut the lows here a little bit. We have the usual kind of lower mid-range issue, which just builds up quite naturally in these kind of recordings. So So you can hear how this is a very percussive sound. This would be a really cool sound on its own to be in a rock song where it's just meant to add that top-end hammery tone. That's not what we were going for particularly, but it's a very, very cool, very present sound, and it can be blended in with the rest. Now here, another note that I did in this case use, I think, all of the microphones in a specific blend. However, I did go in and aligned them in phase and in polarity perfectly. That took me a little while. I had to zoom in very close. I had to find a good note where to do it. And of course, because the note he plays is different and thereby the hammer that is being played moves and thereby the distance changes from the microphones, it will never actually be perfect. The manual alignment, that is. There are software solutions in phase and some others. We can use them. I don't use them, but I take a lot of care in aligning these as good as possible manually. And of course, I watch in the recording as well that everything is in polarity and in phase. So let's have a look at the piano string here. So these two couldn't be any more different, I think. It's hard to believe that it's the same instrument in the same room. It's a very, very different sound. It's much fuller, much thicker. It has less presence because, of course, we don't hear the hammers that much. But it has that body. It has fullness. You hear a lot more of the substance of the piano. These were, I believe, 87s or 67s inside the piano above the strings. So if this is your piano like this, I think I placed one somewhere around here above the high strings and one further away over the low strings, and then panned hard left and right to get the stereo image still. This was quite something to figure out how to place them so that when panned hard left and hard right, it aligned as much as possible with the stereo image of the hammer microphones as well. Before and after. So very different sound, much fuller, works of course in a different context, different kind of production. Let's have a listen to the previous one with EQ and then this one with EQ. Now let's see what happens if we combine the two. Let's say I want to use this one as kind of the main sound and this one just to add a bit of clarity on top. I'm going to reduce the volume so we don't blow the meters. So it's almost like an EQ. It added a bit more top, of course, because the hammer sounds much more present, but it's not just about EQ because we also added more content to it, right? There's added overtones, there's literally added harmonics and added tone on top, and the imaging became a bit better, of course, because the hammers are more precise and the small pencil condensers, they captured a really good stereo image of the hammers. Very cool. Then we have the closed room mics. Let's have a look at those. I mean, not the most exciting thing on the planet, to be honest. I have to say that this recording is beyond rescue, even though I did it. It's just very muddy, there's not a lot of presence. I would basically, I don't know what I would have to do. This is too much here. But if I take it out, there's not much left, and then I also hear this 2K thing. So it might be nice to add some ambience. Let's see what happens if we blend it in. Okay, it's a little bit of ambience, but I'm not blown away by this, so I'm just not going to use it. Let's have a look at the far one. And because this is an EQ video, you just watch what I do here. Like, we have the same issues all the time, okay? It's 2 to 500, there's always some mud. It's basically every instrument. And the piano especially, and strings and horns, 2K. 2K is usually an issue. Between 1.6, 2.2, something like that, depending on the instrument. Let's have a look at the far room. The piano close, by the way, it was 87s, I believe, cardioid, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the piano, maybe 1 meter away, A-B pair, and piano far, let me just have a listen. These were Coles, I believe, so ribbon microphones, really far away. Okay, I like this a lot. I like this a lot. It's of course a little bit muffled. Let's have a look at the before and after here. As I put on the EQ, I heard another resonance creeping up, and that's of course because of the big boost in the treble. So of course, if you boost a broad range of frequencies, then you also tend to emphasize the problems that exist there that you didn't hear before. So I just take that out, and as you can see, small moves, 1.6 dB, 1.7, 1.8. We don't need big movements to solve these little issues. If I reduced all of it, if I took it out, we'd just create a big gaping hole in the sound, and we don't want that. We just want to remove it to a point where it's no longer uncomfortable, but we also don't hear something missing from the sound. Now, this is a cool room, so let's see what happens when we blend it in with the other two mics here. Okay, so the piano gained a lot of dimension. I quite like it. I'm just going to quickly show what happens if we add a little bit of compression to it as well, just to bring up the room even more. Okay, let's have a listen to what happens when we add compression to the room just to make it louder. I'm just going to use LA2A kind of setting here. It's in solo, higher ratio. Okay, let's see what happens if we blend this in now. Okay, cool, I like it. I mean, it's not the best compressor setting, I just did it very quickly, but it works, it's quite nice. We added a lot of dimension to the piano, the room came up nicely, the room works actually really well, I find. I can put a link to the studio where we did this. Yeah, I like it. Let's move on to the next one. So depending on the context, this could be a deliberately dark sound, like a melancholic, moody kind of sound, emphasized with a big reverb. It could be quite nice, or it's just dark by mistake. Either way, I think a little bit of mud can be reduced. It's around here. And we can see that there is not a lot of content here to be boosted. So maybe this is a deliberate production choice that is just quite a dark sound. So in this case, I would even leave it by this. This is obviously a digital piano software maybe. Oh wow, how interesting. So it's called the grand piano and pad, but we can actually not hear the pad. But only if we boost like 10, what's this, 31 dB on the top, we can hear the pad. So clearly something happened here in the production. I don't quite know what, but okay, this is what it is. Let's just move to the next one. So I guess you can see a pattern develop here. When it comes to piano, we always need more treble. There is literally no way around it. In 99% of the cases, we always have a bit too much of 2K. That just happens, especially once we boost the treble. There's no such thing as an isolated treble boost, okay? Once we start boosting even 20K, like here I have the center frequency at 22, but we're boosting according just to this visual representation here, even 1K, okay? So we have to make sure that we compensate for that and we keep that in mind. So the usual thing, a little bit of mud down here, same range really between 2 and 500, bit of 2K before and after. Little cosmetic changes, nothing major, but this will cut through better. Let's look at the next one. Very cool, reminds me of Green Day 21st Century Breakdown. We can make this even more hammery. Now, depending on the context, I might just leave it like this. This is good, big treble boost, a 7K center frequency. We can clean up the low mids a little bit, but it's not even that necessary. And I don't find, interestingly, the 2K, even though I'm boosting quite low here, to be that intrusive. But let's see what happens if we change it. No, it doesn't need anything. This is good. It's good. I like it. I like it. And let's have a look at the last one here. I remember this song here, we actually needed a lot of treble because this was actually one of the leading instruments. So it's a production choice that could have been a bit better in terms of sound choice. Interesting, this might actually be a real upright piano because I can hear the pedal and some of the errors here. So, okay, this is a recorded piano, it seems a recorded upright piano. I wonder why it says blurry in the name, if it's maybe a preset or something, I don't know. It's not a bad sound, it's a bit too dark to my taste. I think in the song I did something like this, maybe even with a bit of exciter. But as you can see, and I hate sounding like a broken record here, but it's always the same thing when it comes to pianos. Big treble boost, mid-range cleanup, and that's about it. Always between 200 to 500, always around 2K. It's always the same. If the recording is up to a certain standard, of course. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. As you can see, like with every previous instrument in this video series, the problems that we encounter are quite similar. It's just a matter of identifying exactly where in the given range the issues are. And yes, with piano, a lot of treble boost, always necessary. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact me directly as well. I do one-on-one classes with you and only with you. We can do one session to focus on a particular problem that you might have, or we can do the full 3-4 session masterclass where we cover all of the basics, all of the fundamentals, and all of the concepts, most importantly, because it's all about concepts. Once you understand the basics behind sound and audio and music production in general, then you don't really need any more YouTube tutorials and YouTube videos on how to do something, because you can just figure it out by yourself. It's just different recordings lead to different outcomes, and then of course there's a stylistic element that is mostly dictated by the way you feel about the music and the way you perceive it, and the big part, of course, the way you hear it physically. So your monitoring will of course also determine your EQ decisions and of course your compression decisions and all of the rest. So good monitoring, very important. I hope this video was helpful. I see you in the next one. Until then, happy mixing. Bye bye.